And check this out, it was also being reported that he was yelling at his own offensive lineman. I talked to 3 to 4 different people today associated with that Ole Miss program, and they're very familiar with Quinshon Judkins. And every single story that one of these people told me, they all lined up, and there wasn't any differences whatsoever. For now, at least, it's not looking good for Quinshon Judkins. It's not. Woo! Man, oh man, you better buckle up and strap in for this one because we got some big time drama on our hands. And if you can't tell from the tone of my voice, I am extremely excited to get into this one because it involves one of the top running backs in the nation and no other than the man, the myth, the legend himself, Lane Kiffin. The good old Lane train. What in the world is going on with Kiffin, Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, and that entire program? Well, I'll tell you this much, the tide has definitely turned because remember only a week ago, it was nothing but great for them. That program was at an all-time high. They were dominating the transfer portal. They got Walter Nolan. They had a top 10 ranking. And oh yeah, by the way, they wound up winning their bowl game. This is as high as the Ole Miss program has arguably ever been. And their starting quarterback, he was going to be coming back for another season. It doesn't get any higher than that. And also, you got to throw in there, their starting quarterback, Jackson Dart, he announced he's coming back for another season. But early this morning, the entire college football world was set ablaze when the breaking news came out that Quinshon Judkins, he's transferring from Ole Miss. He's leaving. Everybody had the same reaction. What? What in the world's going on? Why would he leave? And after everybody gathered themselves and started coming to conclusions, the one big conclusion that everybody was throwing out there is, oh yeah, this has to do with money. He's going to go chase the bag. But coming to find out, a little foreshadowing here, that had nothing to do with it whatsoever. I've talked to multiple different sources surrounding that Ole Miss program, and I know exactly what went down and what happened, and I'm here to present you with that information in this video. And I know I just said it, but let me make this exponentially clear. This is not a money situation. This has nothing to do with NIL. I can't wait to get into that, but also, we got to talk about this. Nick Saban earlier today, he explained what happened on the Pat McAfee show, what really happened on that last snap in the last play. And also, ironically enough, the center from Alabama that has entered the portal, he's going to a big-time program in the Big Ten. And let's just say it might shock you, and I'm not too sure how this certain fan base would feel about getting this young man. I hope each and every single one of you had a great Thursday. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. But all right, Matt, blah, blah, blah. Shut the crap out. Not further ado. Let's get into it. All right, man, first things first, we're going to start on with this. I thought it was really interesting, and unfortunately, I can't show you the clip due to copyright, but I can tell you what happened. Pat McAfee was asking Nick Saban about the final play, how Jalen Milroe ran into the offensive line, and blah, 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 and Nick Saban interrupts some mid-conversation and goes, no. Actually, the snap was terrible on the play. And I love that because that is something I pointed out and not too many people brought up because everybody was saying, oh, well, Milroe still caught the snap so it didn't affect it. Dude, the snap literally was at the ground. Milroe had to bend down and pick it up. And like Saban said, by the time you do that, it messes up the timing and everything. But Saban also added this, not just for the final play, but the entire game for Seth McLaughlin's snapping issues. Saban stated that Seth thought he heard during those bad snaps, he thought he heard someone making a clapping noise, but turns out nobody was clapping. And other times, you know what this was? He had the yips. That's all there is to it. And it's really unfortunate, and nobody has critiqued him more than me because it's inexcusable. But I will say, having the yips is something that it's hard to break because it starts to get in your head. Continuing along here, I guess you could label it as a second topic, but it really goes hand in hand. Speaking of Seth McLaughlin, guess what? He's leaving Alabama, but we know that. The reason I'm talking about him and bringing him up yet again is because the news came out earlier today. He is expected to visit the little bro Ohio State this weekend. What about that? I try telling people, although he couldn't snap a football and had 4 bad snaps per game, you're going to have big-time schools go after him. On a serious note, if you just take on the bad snaps, the dude is a really good center, but it's hard for me to overlook them snaps because it can cost you a game and change the whole trajectory of a game, and we saw that against Michigan. On Alabama's opening drive in the second half, they're cooking Michigan, just driving all of them down the field and back to bad snaps, and then we had to punt. That cost us at bare minimum 3 points, but I'd argue and say we was easily going to score a touchdown there. But getting back to him going to Ohio State fans, how do y'all feel about this? Let me know in the comment section. Oh gosh, we had casual here. Somebody said, we getting Bama's best lineman. Do y'all want to tell him or do you want me to? Somebody replied and said, correction, you're getting the man that cost Bama a spot in the Natty. Huge difference. And maybe this guy's trying to be funny. Maybe he's being serious. I don't know, but I'm taking him like he's being serious because in reality, he did cost us a chance at the Natty. It is what it is. Sure, our defense could have stepped up in the later stages of the game, but the bad snaps just are drive killers and all that. You know, don't get me started on that. Don't get me started. And you know what? The more I think about it, it wouldn't shock me if he goes to Ohio State and never has one bad snap. Not even one. My whole conspiracy theory on Seth McLaughlin here, and keep in mind, it's a conspiracy theory for a reason. The chances of this being true is below 0.001%. But for those of you who don't know, he grew up in Georgia. So what if his entire mission was to become the starting center for Alabama, and if Alabama has a chance to win a championship or play for a championship in a big-time moment, he's going to blow the game? Are the chances of that being true? No, because it's a conspiracy theory for a reason. But don't y'all think it's a little odd that in all the practices he never had bad snaps? Think about it. Granted, there's more pressure during the games, but I don't know, man. It's just a little fishy. And I always thought it was ironic that he only had bad snaps on first downs or during big-time moments. He tried to throw the Auburn game. And the only reason we're not talking about the terrible snap in the Iron Bowl is because it didn't matter because Jalen Milroe made up for it. I need to stop right now because I can feel a rant and tangent coming. I low-key just went on a mini one there. I'm curious. Let me know in the comment section, Ohio State fans. Would you welcome him in? Do you like this or do you not like this because of all the bad snaps? We got to get a move on, though, to the main topic of the main encore, the main reason you clicked onto this video, and something I'm extremely excited to get into. What in the world is going on with Lane Kiffin, or a.k.a. the Lane Train, Jackson Dart, Quinshon Judkins, and Ole Miss? Well, for starters, if you've been living under a rock and you didn't hear the news earlier today, Quinshon Judkins, he entered the portal. Yes, it's a big-time deal. We talked about that a little earlier. I'm not going to hype it up too much. It's confusing. It was mind-boggling. And the early consensus around all this is that Quinshon Judkins and Ole Miss, they had a disagreement about money, and he's going to go elsewhere and try to get more money in the NIL, which is very understandable. Never going to fault a kid for going after the money, because if we were in the same position, we'd more likely all do the same thing. Let's just say for the sake of this video, Ole Miss told him, hey, if you come back next year, we'll give you $200K. And these aren't real numbers. Just for the sake of this video, Ole Miss tells him, hey, we'll give you $200K if you come back next year. And through the grapevine, he hears Georgia. This also isn't real because Georgia doesn't pay players like that. They tell Quinshon Judkins, hey, you come here, we'll give you $1 million. Well, of course, I understand that. It makes total sense. If another program is going to offer you $1 million and give you way more money, I can't fault you for leaving. But the problem with all this is I guess many people just didn't know this because they weren't following up with Ole Miss football. This was never about the money. Before I say what I'm about to say, I need to give you some context on Mr. Quinshon Judkins. He was not a very highly touted recruit coming out of high school. He was only regarded as a 3-star. And that's extremely hard to believe considering how good he's been for Ole Miss. But yeah, not too many schools were going after him. And if you're wondering why I know this information, it's because he played high school football in my home state, Alabama, so I was familiar with him. And you see this picture right here of Lane Kiffin sitting in the bleachers by himself? Do you know the context behind this? Because I bet a lot of you don't. This is a picture of Lane Kiffin showing up to one of Quinshon Judkins' games. And let me make this clear. It wasn't like Lane Kiffin was recruiting with other people trying to steal him away from somebody else like this was the #1 recruit in the nation. Lane Kiffin was going to this kid's high school games, sitting by himself in the bleachers when he didn't have to because he believed in him and he really wanted him. And I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but Lane Kiffin essentially took a big chance on this young man. And Kiffin also believed in him so much, he wound up starting him as a true freshman last year, and he went off. But as you see right here, his numbers in 2023 took a huge decrease. He went from averaging 5.7 yards a pop to only 4.3, and that's not very good at the college level. But why is this? Why did he have a decrease in numbers? I think it's more than fair to say you could attribute it to what I'm about to get into next. You can do what you want with this information. I'm just the messenger. I'm here to present you with it, and you can run with whatever narrative you want to. I talked to 3 to 4 different people today associated with that Ole Miss program, and they're very familiar with Quinshon Judkins. And every single story that one of these people told me, they all lined up, and there wasn't any differences whatsoever. I've been told that ever since the beginning of the season, Quinshon Judkins' attitude and ego has been terrible. And it was just like with anything in life. Sometimes, let's say week 2, it wasn't too bad, but fast forward time to week 3, it was terrible and it was detrimental to the team's success. And this is funny. One guy told me, he was laughing. I don't know if he was serious. He might have been, but he told me if Quinshon Judkins wasn't Quinshon Judkins, he would have already been kicked off of the team. Pretty much another term saying if he wasn't a big-time contributor and arguably the best player in Ole Miss's football team, he would have already got the boot. But since he was that good, and don't get me wrong, the dude was a heck of a talent, Ole Miss's coaching staff, and more importantly, Lane Kiffin, was willing to overlook all the problems, which I understand it. You got a guy rushing for 1,500 yards as a true freshman? Yeah, I think I could turn the side eye to him every now and then. Is that how that saying goes? Is it turn a side eye or blind eye? I don't know. You get what I'm trying to say. You can overlook it. And here's my question with all of this. Where did this ego come from? Well, I just don't get it. You would think a guy who wasn't that heavily recruited coming out of high school by your top 2015 teams, and really Lane Kiffin gave you a shot that more likely nobody else would have gave you, would have some humility and humbleness to him. But I guess not. And I look at it from this standpoint. Let's use Lane Kiffin as an example. I know a lot of people get sick and tired of it, but do you notice how Lane Kiffin, even till this day, worships the ground that Nick Saban walks on? And he's always talking about how Nick Saban is the reason he's the head coach of Ole Miss and Saban's the reason where he is today. Y'all notice that, right? I can't be the only one who's picked up on how gracious Lane Kiffin is for Nick Saban helping him out when he did. Because the reality of the situation is, and Lane Kiffin knows this, if Saban wouldn't have helped out Lane Kiffin, that would have been it. Because when Saban picked up Lane Kiffin, everybody thought Kiffin was the biggest clown in the world. And maybe it's because Lane Kiffin's older, and I'm not saying that Quinshon Judkins can't learn from this, but it's just funny how things work out. It's two similar situations, though, in my eyes, because not too many people were willing to stick a hand out for Lane Kiffin like Saban did, and same thing here. Not too many people were willing to stick out a hand for Quinshon Judkins coming out of high school, and Kiffin did. And check this out. It was also being reported that he was yelling at his own offensive lineman. Now, whether this was during the games, practices, or whatnot, I have no idea. I'm just going off of this report you see right here. It's also being stated he went into Kiffin's office during the season to tell him what changes he wanted to see in the offense. I'm just imagining that. A player going into the head coach's office telling him, all right, this is what I think we should run this year, and here's what we're going to do. And oh yeah, I need to throw this in there. I almost forgot to. Jackson Dart posted a Instagram clip, and I can't show you the clip, but it's where Tom Brady's pretty much saying that he doesn't like selfish players. And yeah, I think we can put two and two together here. Jackson Dart is most definitely referring to Quinshon Judkins. And I don't know if some of you saw this, but during the bowl game, Jackson Dart had a call timeout, and he went over to Lane Kiffin, and he asked him to take out Quinshon Judkins just because of how disruptive he was being. And take a look at this. It's kind of long, but it explains what went down at Ole Miss. I was coming to type a version of what I see on that board that Chuck said, referring to what I just showed you. I can confirm his report from multiple people. The money side of things had been agreed on, but the issues outside of that finally hit ahead. Frankly, a lot of people around the program have been frustrated with Judkins and those close to him for a while, but his talent and ability had kept the patience as high as it could reasonably be until now. Dart and the other offensive players had issues with Judkins during the game and concerning chemistry playing such a role in melding together a roster. Ole Miss thought it'd be best to not entertain further demands. Dart did ask Lane during the game to take him out, as someone said to me a second ago. I think both sides got what they wanted. The issues had been going on all season to some degree and seemed to intensify. Ole Miss is likely to pick up a running back from a notable program, I'm hearing, and obviously the Rebels would like to keep Bentley, that's their other running back by the way. This didn't come out of left field, so there's been time for plans in case things went nuclear. I don't have a name yet, working on it. Interesting, really interesting. What do y'all think about that? So what I'm gathering from all this information is, long story short, he's been cancer to the locker room. I'm wishing him the best of luck, I really am, and I do want to throw this in there as well. There's two sides to every story, but for now at least, it's not looking good for Quinshon Judkins. It's not. It's unfortunate that things didn't work out because unless something crazy happens, Ole Miss is going to be competing for a playoff spot next year. And I enjoyed watching Judkins while he was playing at Ole Miss, and it's sad that that's got to come to an end. I'm curious though. Let me know your thoughts down below at